Hello everyone, how are you all doing? This is Abigail Barella with Sparkle and Shine Guidance, and this is your new moon oracle for the new moon in Virgo on Thursday, September 17th at 4 a.m. Pacific Standard Time in 25 degrees of Virgo. This is a very big new moon for many reasons. There's a lot of transitions happening in the cosmos right now. Today we just found out that they've discovered life on Venus. So we're experiencing a lot of cosmic shifts right now. Depending on where you're living, you might be feeling this more personally, or you might just be hearing about things in the news. And this is likely going to continue until December of 2020. I've been talking about this a lot in groups and individual chats with people, but really these experiences that we're having leading up to December of 2020 are about strengthening us, empowering us to think for ourselves and to use our critical thinking skills. Something that I've been saying a lot as well is that you cannot call yourself a critical thinker and at the same time believe everything you hear that your news is telling you. It's just not possible. It's not possible. You have to follow the money and you have to follow what your intuition is telling you. Hello, if you're just joining me, I'm talking about the new moon in Virgo. Now, this is a theme in particular because we have the North Node in Gemini and the South Node in Sagittarius. This is an 18-month-long cycle. If you haven't heard me talk about it before, I have a whole video on it. Check it out in my IGTV. And why in particular it brings up the news and you can't believe everything you read, you have to question, follow the money, ask why, understand that if we're being told that something isn't true, that doesn't mean that it's telling us what is true. This is really, really important as we go through the rest of 2020. We are being asked to strengthen, fortify, and empower ourselves to think for ourselves, act from our intuition, and act from a place of love, which is very challenging at this time. We are really being asked to divide. We are really being asked to separate and judge each other and have a lot of beliefs around what other people are doing and how wrong it is. So I highly encourage you at this new moon time to consider what you're feeding your brain, what you're feeding your mind, and if it is helping you and assisting you to empower yourself, strengthen yourself, and fortify yourself, or if it actually brings you down, and to make some adjustments, because Virgo is all about change. Now, why am I talking about the North and the South Node for this new moon is that we are 3 months away from a huge transit, which is a solar eclipse on the south node of the moon in Sagittarius. This eclipse is really big. So big. It's within a 10-degree orb of the Galactic Center. And for those of you who have been following me for a while, you probably have heard me talk about the Galactic Center. It's anywhere, it depends what you're reading, but anywhere from 29 to 26 degrees of Sagittarius where the Galactic Center is. And this is literally the center and the gateway portal to galaxies beyond our galaxy. So it's really where infinite information, awakenings, shifts, just like new ways of thinking about consciousness come in. And one of the things about our consciousness to always remember is that when we go through an awakening time period or an awakening, it's only once we have that awakening that we understand the lower level thinking that we were under. So even for each one of us where we are right now, to just honor that everything we think we know could all change at any moment. And that's exciting. And that's evolution. And if we can honor that, then we don't have to get so glued and so stuck with our personal beliefs and thinking that we know a lot more than everyone else. And there is a war on spirituality happening right now. And to remember that you don't have to separate spirituality from intellectualism. Intellectualism isn't just about reading what corporations have paid to fund studies or whatever they're paying to fund the news and then believing everything you hear, right? That's not intellectualism. I'm sorry. So let's get back to the astrology. The astrology is really showing us a lot of things this month. This huge eclipse that we will have in December, on the 14th of December, it's at 23, I think, 23 degrees of Sagittarius. So look at where that is in your chart, because even though I'm talking about the Virgo new moon, this is important because this new moon squares the nodes of the moon. When we have a new moon, the moon and the sun together in the same degree, squaring the nodes of the moon, it's telling us, hey, there's gonna be some conflict. There's gonna be some things kind of put in your face to clear and be ready for this total solar eclipse that we'll have on December 14th. So it's really important to understand that, because depending on where these nodes are in your specific chart, and you can set up a chart reading with me if you're interested in my profile, to understand where these nodes are for you as they're transiting is really important, because that's where you'll notice the conflict or the challenge coming up for you. Now there's some other challenging aspects that I'm going to get to, but though that fact that we're having the new moon square the nodes is really showing us that our consciousness and our beliefs and this duality that we're all being confronted with is really wanting to show us a new consciousness, a new way of being. And I'm really super, super excited to see for the collective December of 2020. I am not afraid. I actually am excited to see where we get. Now, the months leading up to that are I don't expect to be pretty. As you look at the astrology for September, we knew, any astrologer that you talk to knew was going to be very intense. October, not very different. November, not very different. And then December opens things up, okay? And I don't say that in a way to scare you or frighten you. I just say that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. This time period is about doing our inner work to be ready for that expansion. And it's really about strengthening, fortifying, and empowering ourselves. And however you do that, that feels good to you and is done through love, is going to be beneficial to all beings at this time. So if you're kind of one of those empathic people like me, who is like a sponge and takes on a lot of the weight of the world, just to understand that to switch it and to do the self-care at this time is really doing a lot for humanity. So stay focused on the inner work, stay focused on your self-love and your compassion for yourself and everyone else, and you'll be doing a lot better in the next coming months, right? So this new moon, some of the transits that are most active is we have I think it's almost an exact trine. Yep, it's an exact trine, which is unique. When we see it's exact on the same degree, it's going to be influential. And that's with Saturn. Saturn is retrograde until I think the end of the month. And it is in Capricorn. So it's a trine, and a trine is a positive, harmonizing influence. And when we look at what Virgo is about, the themes of Virgo, I have a whole post on my my Instagram too if you want to look at it about Virgo, but basically, it's about the practical changes, our routines, our rhythms, our day-to-day work, so that we can align with our service to ourselves first so that we can serve humanity. And it's really about how we ground ourselves into these daily rhythms in order to feel good. And for some of us, that's been shooken up a little bit, and this trine to Saturn is hopefully going to ground in some ability to harmonize and work with a new schedule and work with a new way of being that is more beneficial and goal-oriented. So look back at any goals you had for this year and really just pick one that you'd really like to work with for the rest of the year. This new moon is the time to get the intentions. And the other thing about Virgo is that it's a mutable fire. No, it's not fire. Mutable earth. And mutable earth is grounding, practical. Right? Mutability is change. And so we're coming into fall. We'll have the, sorry, there's something in my eye. We have equinox on the 22nd of September. Until then, though, we're still in Virgo season. We're still transitioning into fall, right? The equinox brings fall in the northern hemisphere. And so as we're working with this new moon, and Virgo's all about changes, mutability, and being able to shift our daily actions, the way we take care of our body, the way we take care of our mind and our spirit. So this is the time to adapt and bring in new rituals, bring in new rhythms to really be in your power, okay? So the other aspect that it's making that I wanted to talk about is, so we have Mars retrograde right now in 27 degrees of Aries. At the end of the month, we will have the second Mars-Saturn square. That's super intense. I'm going to have a whole other video about Mars retrograde through each one of the houses, so you might want to check that out if you know your house system, where Aries is in your house system. That's going to be super helpful. But for now, just understand that anytime, like, I'm already feeling that Mars-Saturn square because it's super agitating on the inside, just super agitating. So ways to work with this is moving your body, meditation, making sure you're hydrated, all of those basic things to just lower the intensity level, because whenever we have a square with Mars and Saturn, they're both pretty intense, and they're not the easiest energies to work together, especially the retrograde, so it's meaning it's inner work. Reminders that it's inner work right now, inner work time. So that's important to just kind of have a frame of reference. Now, I made a whole video yesterday that was not, I knew the moon was void of course until 11:30 a.m. and I was impatient and I didn't wait. And therefore that video was frozen. It's still on my IGTV. I think there's some information you can get from it. But I was talking about Jupiter going direct. It went direct yesterday. And then today, as we have Venus and the moon conjunct each other in Leo, we discovered, or the news reported, that there's life on Venus. So that's pretty exciting. Jupiter direct, back to Jupiter direct in Capricorn is a celebration because it means we're closer to getting Jupiter out of Capricorn and into Aquarius. Jupiter does not like being in Capricorn, and Jupiter is luck, expansion, miracles, all of those things. And so when it goes direct, that is providing some breath of fresh air, some ability to work with the energies more. Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn are all right there next to each other in Capricorn, and that is creating a stellium, and that is trine to this new moon. So to work with this energy, to work with it, is to really lean into that Virgo day-to-day work, routines, rituals, and goals that you have. So now is the time to revisit, pick a goal to work with for the rest of the year, and really stick with it, because when we have an Earth new moon with a trine to an Earth sign, it's really giving you that permission and that power to work with the Earth energies, okay? This is also a great time to connect in with the Earth in whatever way feels good to you, maybe planting a fall garden or doing some kind of practical magic with making things. It's a great crafty time to start something new. And lastly, to kind of wrap up, Jupiter direct at 17 degrees of Capricorn is also going to be there until the beginning of December. So we will have that huge eclipse that I talked about mid-December, and then it's not that much further along. I think it's around the solstice. So this is also look at the different ways of telling time is to look at the equinoxes and the solstice. So we're almost to the equinox, and then we will have the solstice, right? That's the next thing. So it's really important to look at the energy of what the equinox is about. It's rebalancing, it's equalizing. And so we want to use that energy to look at anything that's had imbalances this whole year and bring that stability of balance back in. And then as we move to the darkest day, the darkest time of the year, we will have Jupiter thankfully moving into Aquarius, which is for the people, all about future goals, orientation, and it's more benevolent, and we need that right now. And Saturn will be right there, and they will be conjunct. So if you were born in 81, 80, 81, you will have Jupiter and Saturn conjunct in your chart, and so this will be a trine to that. So it's a super powerful time if you were born during that time. But in general, everyone's going to be feeling this Jupiter Saturn conjunction in December, and so that's something to look forward to. It's going to be very exciting. All right, thank you guys for tuning in. Have a great day. Bye.